Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to RedFellas, your go-to Liverpool stroke therapy session on a Sunday night, as the case may be. You're all very welcome. See that intro of, well, not I haven't done it myself, but a good friend of mine has made for me. See at the end where it says like and subscribe. Hope you guys have all done that first and foremost. That's the that's the house rules out of the way. Um, Cav didn't obviously, so he's left the stream. He's
He's
going
had
to
enough.
come back in.
Had enough
He's had
already.
enough. So as he comes back into the stream, Cav's going to like and subscribe as well now because he realised he forgot the house rules. So if any of you have forgotten the house rules, stop what you're doing, forget everything else. Let's get a like, let's get a subscribe if you haven't, and then we can get into it. Uh, yeah, welcome to RedFellas, everyone. I'm having a stinker as well because I haven't even got my sponsors up, and that just shows you the state of play or state of my mind. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. Ben says, "Big up, boys. Need some entertainment after the pain of watching the scum lift a trophy." Yeah, we're just gonna not talk about it. To be honest with you, like as Steve tweeted, was there another game on today? Yeah, the only one I was concerned with it because it affects Liverpool was the Chelsea Spurs game because it affects our place in the Premier League. The other one, I was going to say good luck to them, but I think the guys would have kicked me out of my own show if I said that. So yeah, sod them over the East Lanks. They can do what they want. Pixelated Pages says, "Big up the Red Fellas. We miss Nunez so much in that Palace game." But Chetic too, to be honest, we're going to get right into it. Pixelated Pigeon. First super chat of the night. Jerome Simons, of course, a very happy Man United fan, I'm assuming, says GGMU. Yeah, you know I'm not going to read that out, whatever, just GGMU. I'll just repeat the abbreviations, whatever they mean for. Tom says Sundays for Redfellas. It is indeed. It is indeed. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Tom, for that. Yeah, look, it is what it is. We are into the stream right now. There's 160 of you camped in here already. Smash a like while I talk about our lovely, amazing sponsors. We already know who they are. They are yourfutcard.com, your go-to website. I mean this. I don't just say it. It's not empty words. They are fantastic. The reviews they've been getting have been fantastic. So many happy, content customers. Go check them out. Create your own card. Get your skills. Get your pictures of your daughter, your boy, your uncle, your niece, whoever you want on it. Get whatever names and skills you want on it. You know the drill. If you want lovely prints made, get them prints made. Fantastic prints, banners, flags, all that kind of business. Look at that. Some new additions there. Any Man United fans out there, look at that. That Martinez one's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's a Chelsea one in there. I'm not sure Chelsea one's going to be too popular right now, but it is what it is. Go check them out. And if you type in, you can even get these type of card ones, these card ones as well. We can get a mate in the picture as well. That's interesting. But as I said, I haven't got all the answers. They have. And if you want all the answers, if you've got the questions, go and ask them and they'll answer you and help you straight away. On top of everything else, you type in RedFellas 15, you get 15% discount as well after all of that. So go check them out. Your go-to for all flags, banners, and FUT cards. All right, Cav.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm all right. Just trying to wake myself up as you put in the description. Snooze fest. Exactly that, weren't it? We're going to try and talk on the game and what have you, and hopefully. No, we don't need to cheer each other. I don't think it's therapy this week. We probably need livening up a little bit, don't we? Bit of life.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I came with the intention today of just really speaking to you guys. Like we've pretty much got the A team. Like no disrespect to the ones that chickened out today, but hard times. What's that saying? Hard times. Something last. Something. Fuck it. Whatever it is.
Don't know that one, Grizz. Don't know that one.
We'll just write that one down, lads.
Whatever it is, give us something hard times, something. Anyway, you get the drift. Got the A team in town, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't really want to. I'm probably gonna end up asking loads of questions, like as a host. But really, I just wanted to come and have a chat with you guys and say hi, how's things? Liverpool Football Club, what are they doing to us? mentally, physically, how we're doing, how we're feeling, what's the outlook, all that kind of business. Do you know one of those ones, Conroy? I've got myself a nice little cup of tea where some people, right, always mistake it for saying I love Silla, as in, you know, Silla, but it's really Cecilia from my time out in Italy.
Boy, just a big fan of Blind Date, just like a
Do you know
huge
what I mean?
Black fan.
I listen. Not a lot of people know this. I used to love watching Blind Date. Not a lot of people know that. Right? That's a little secret for you. I used to love watching Blind Date. Now we can all admit and have confessions, right? Feel free, because that's the state of mind I'm in. I'm here to confess. I used to watch Blind Date. I didn't fancy Cilla Black or anything, my God. But you know, even though I like her, it was not I love because some people were saying I love Celia. Who's that? I love Cecilia. But anyway,
you just like here's our Graham with the reminder, didn't you? That was the bit you liked, wasn't it?
That's the bit. Steve knows. Connor, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, all right, mate. To be honest, I had a bit of a busy one yesterday, so I managed to catch the game. To be honest, I probably should have just continued having a busy one. It would have been more interesting, I think, to be honest. But yeah, as you say, Grizz, good to chat about it tonight because, to be honest, it's really hard because every week I usually write a little list of a few things we could mention, and then it seems to be at the moment that it seems to be at the moment that I'm just writing the same things every week. If it's maybe not that week, it's the previous week. You know, there's like a collection of thoughts I've got at the moment, and it seems I just have to pick one each week because they keep repeating themselves. And again, we'll talk about that tonight. But I share the frustration with you all, with you, Grizz, and the chat. It just seems to be Groundhog Day is probably not an accurate term, but it just seems to be that there's, for me at times, we're clutching at straws for positives, and I'm a bit sick of that, to be perfectly honest. And I think Madrid reinforced that during the week, and then yesterday just absolutely battered that opinion. Yeah, so no improvement, just literally, I think as Jamie Carragher said it, we'll have a couple of wins, then a couple of losses, and it'll be like that to the end of the season.
Well, to be honest with you, you actually said this a few weeks ago. You said, look, it's going to be like that. We're going to have ups and downs because of the state we find ourselves in, and we've done the blame game and who's responsible for it, and we may get into it. We probably will get into it again today. But look, Steve, we find ourselves in a position where it's not really a shock. We've not come into the stream thinking, what the fuck did we just see? What was that? It's part and parcel of the season we're having. And we'll get into the reasons why we're having that season, but it's kind of just normal, right? We're going to have ups and downs, and it's going to continue, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no getting away from it. Yesterday was far from great. You alluded to it in your tweet that it's a third clean sheet in the Premier League. So if you're looking for positives, and I know Conroy's not of the opinion to do that too much, given our season to date, you kind of have to look at that. But the massive caveat off the end of it, mate, is we should be winning those games against those sides, or we feel we should be winning those games against those sides, because today Spurs go and win and put a little bit of extra distance between ourselves and them. So final whistle goes, want to win the game, you don't win the game, you don't concede goals, which is a positive, and then your rivals go and get a bit of a march on your following day, which totally adds to the frustration of a game we all felt we should have won.
Yeah, absolutely. Pimp in Distress says, smash the likes, big up Michael Caine impressions, G. If you know, you know. Do you know Michael Caine, lads? You're probably too young for him.
Of course, I know who Michael Caine is.
We know Michael Caine.
Well, I don't know, innit? Because you guys surprise me sometimes every week. Like you know what I mean? You forget like the old golden oldies.
Yeah. I was going to do the impression, but I can't do the impression. You know, I think is it Steve Coogan or it's the one who's in Gavin and Stacey? Oh, the Welsh Rob Brydon. He does a very good Michael Caine. But I'm not going to try it.
Well, I'm not brilliant at it, but I know that line. Not a lot of people know that. Yeah, I'll just do that one. Like, share, subscribe, as Brush says. One of the only decent Man United fans that enters our chat. Good lad, Brush. LFC Aaron's in the building as well. Top guy as well. Jerome, who's actually a decent Man United fan. He's not bad. He feeds me chocolates with the super chats. He says, go and buy yourself a chocolate. He says, the saying goes, hard times equals Liverpool in the mud, lol. GGM, you love the show, guys. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the love. I want to come to you, Cav, because during the week, we obviously know what happened. after the Champions League game. And then what happens is when you hit not a rock bottom, we've had much more rock bottoms, but when you hit when it's at the end of the night and you've just lost 5-2 at home after being 2-0 up, it feels like the worst rock bottom. And then so what you need after that in the ensuing few days before the next game is the leader, the man behind the whole project who's gonna either lift you or walk or get sacked or whatever. Jurgen Klopp's performance, or whatever you want to say in the press conference, for me, was pretty much exactly what I expected and I hoped. He instilled hope in me again. He got me believing again. Everything else. And like I said, I tweeted it before the game. I said, he's got me believing. He's got me wanting to support. And I actually did. Obviously, I'm able and blessed to be able to go and support. So I did, rather than just, I could, sit at home and just tweet away and go mad. I said, now it's the players' turn. And I said the same after before the Champions League game. The crowd have done their bit. Mm-hmm. The atmosphere, everything was set. Now the players have to turn up. They didn't turn up apart from the first 20 minutes. And even in this game, Cav, the manager done the motivational part right. But I don't think his selection and the team justified any raised hope again. For me personally, how did you feel?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Klopp has that ability to sort of rally everybody together and get everybody back on side again and believing again. It's a special ability that he's used and has made us very successful. Over a period actually this season where I didn't feel like he was doing that a lot, but he seems to have come out and be speaking a lot more and getting the fans on side especially. But you're dead right. There's a large chunk of this season that has been disappointing, and you can look towards some of the players because, I mean, I've said this 1,000 times, but I always feel like going into these games that we have enough when I look at the team sheet to not only go out and get a draw, but actually go out and win these games. And quite often we're just left disappointed. And a large part of that is down to, tactics, coaching, this and that. But these players are vastly experienced, not only in competing, but winning. They know the system, they know what's required. And quite often I just feel like they're just bang out of form, but then also too often. And I felt like the game against Palace, we're starting to question sort of attitude again and enthusiasm and these kinds of things. And I really thought that we were over that hurdle with, the sort of couple of nice results we got against Everton and Newcastle. Felt like the motivation was there to maybe just target this remainder of the season and finish as strong as possible. I was actually quietly, I kept this to myself, a little bit concerned that we would finish really strongly this season and then we'd go into the summer thinking actually things are a lot better than they perhaps really are. But as it turns out, it looks like we are going to have that inconsistency that Conroy alluded to. So we'll talk about the specifics of the games, the selection and the subs. But I agree with your statement that I think the players themselves are they're letting themselves down. And I think that's really disappointing at this stage.
Yeah, I think that's a very good line at the end there. The players are letting themselves down. First and foremost, you've got to have a personal pride about you, right, Steve? Players have got to have personal pride. They are professional. They are highly professional players, great players in some cases, have been through the highs with us and through the lows. And this is most certainly the lowest they will all felt as a team, as a group, and as a management, and the management as a whole. And so when you try to dissect what's going wrong, there has to be a large portion of blame at the players themselves. We'll get into why they may feel like that, but you can't forget the players. They've got a responsibility themselves, right?
Yeah, I think for us it's a confidence thing more than anything else. You look at what we've achieved and getting to within 2 games of football immortality, and then it doesn't work, and we end up with the 2 of the 4 that we probably would say we'll take them, but they're not the ones we want. So you go into the game against Real Madrid on Tuesday night, you get hammered at home in front of your own fans. Any momentum, any confidence, anything at all we built up beating Everton and Newcastle goes out the window the moment they scored the third goal, it was evident that the confidence just drained out of the side. It wasn't back for the game against Palace. We'll get into the lineup. I think that shows that it wasn't back after the game against Madrid. Okay to speak about it now, I guess, because it's on screen.
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah. Don't know if you want to zoom a bit, Con. Sorry.
There you go. So that midfield three is we will go to Selhurst Park and we will not lose midfield, rather than we will go to Selhurst Park and we will be a little bit more expansive and we will try and win the game. And off the back of the Real Madrid fixture, I can kind of understand why he did that, because to not lose was probably the most important thing to him. Small steps again. We're back where we started, aren't we? Building small steps, building momentum, building confidence. It wasn't a great defensive performance. Mateta should have scored when they mugged Trent in the right back position and he hit the crossbar. But it's a clean sheet. It's not a loss. And in his press conference, that's how he dressed it up. And I think he's convinced himself that's what it is.
Conroy, I don't know if Steve's there. Conroy, as Steve says, we get into the lineup and the lineup comes out. We anticipated a few changes. Obviously, a couple enforced, maybe. Well, Nunez definitely enforced. Thiago definitely enforced. And obviously, we know about Diaz. But I think Gomez probably wouldn't have started anyway, but he was injured. I don't know. Maybe you think otherwise. Because looking at that team, I'm totally with Steve where you says, as soon as I saw that team, I thought psychologically we haven't overcome that second half against Madrid, because we have chosen a team to not get beat as opposed to go out there, create chances, be attacking, be a bit brave. That's how I looked at the lineup.
Yeah, no, I think I actually agree with you both. I think when you see that, obviously I know there's obviously sports science, and they'll maybe say, right, in the legs, these players need to start, and you can maybe use that as the main reason. But I think a good outlook to see how people have maybe, how training's been a couple of days after the game, is to come back into the next match and just attack that. And I feel like that lineup didn't show that. I don't know if you guys feel like there's another reason, but I agree. I feel like, to me, that just shows that there's like even the Gomez one, you could see this injury, but there's definitely maybe trauma's a bit strong, but there's something on that Klopp didn't feel that lineup was ready to start this game, and I think that maybe says a lot. It probably just adds fuel to the fire of the season, to be honest, guys. It's just I'm not going to be too erratic, but we're playing Naby Keita, a player who, again, was another poor performance, doesn't want to be there. He's going to have to go. You've got James Milner, who's 37, and I'm not going to criticise James Milner. He should not be in that position. And at times he came on and actually looked better than some of our midfield, which is actually
he was the best midfielder.
Ridiculous.
He was the best. I'm telling you now, I was there. He was the best midfielder on the pitch. Not on the pitch, possibly, but I mean,
from us,
and that's mad. That's wild, and it's also embarrassing, because it's either the youngest kid that's the best player in our midfield, or it's the eldest. And how many times have we said the same thing? Why is it so extremes with us guys? It's either the eldest or the youngest. Sorry, I interrupted you, but
no, you're right. I think that kind of sums up. See, when I saw that lineup, I'm just like, it's just a bit. If you've seen that written down on paper, like, to me, and it can't all be ran like a business. I accept that, but if you talk about like contingency planning, continuity planning, you look at, like, we're not the same as Madrid. I get that, but Madrid have got Kroos, Modric, who are just on a different level, but they are bringing Tchouaméni, Camavinga. I know, I get it, they operate differently, but we just don't have that. It just seems to be we'll just paper over the cracks. We'll just put that in there. The fact that we've got James Milner still actually having to play a role more than he has in previous seasons in the last 2 years, I think just emphasises how poor our planning's been, to be honest. Or you maybe could say how poor our recruitment's been, because of some of the players. You've got a £65 million flop at right midfield who gets taken off at half time, and then you've got a 37-year-old who is starting your game. I think it just shows you exactly where we are. And I know we'll go into that more later on, but to me, it's just a bit like, Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but I'm just a bit. Sometimes
I thought, I don't know.
we don't help ourselves. I just don't think we help ourselves. It's just like it just highlights how poor our planning's been at some point. Some recruitment's been great, but I just think when people will say like excuses and stuff, and that, just for me, it's like there's been enough evidence to say, as we've spoken about many times, we should have been more prepared for this. We weren't, and this is where we are.
Do you know?
Go on, Kev.
If I might, Grizz, I totally get the point about being beaten quite comfortably in front of our own fans by Real Madrid, but Real Madrid are a completely different team to Crystal Palace. And I understand there's not much confidence in the camp right now. And I understand there ain't much form because we beat Everton in a derby and then we beat a 10-man Newcastle. But I don't understand why we would look at that Real Madrid game and be burnt by it and that affect our selection when it comes to Palace. Obviously, in terms of fitness, yes. But in terms of being conservative, I know it's Selhurst Park. I know it's Saturday night under the lights, and that crowd can really get up for it. But just look at them and look at their form and look at their forwards. Like, they literally have Elise that's a good attacking option, but he's not even certified great, is he? And it's just like, why are we in fear of these teams? For me, I seen that selection and it was like, okay, yeah, we've got the robustness in midfield. We're going to try and answer some of the questions we've had this season, which is being overrun, being outworked, being too easy to play through the middle of the park. But it just goes back to the fact that we have no creativity again in that midfield. I don't understand why the likes of Jones or Carvalho or Elliott can't get into that team.
So I can shed a bit of light on that, sorry, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We knew they had no creativity. We knew they were missing Wilfried Zaha. We knew that Eze wasn't able to play alongside Elise. It doesn't work for them to do that. So we went with what we thought would be a physical battle. We thought they'd try and beat us at set pieces. We thought they'd try and beat us by overrunning us in the centre of the park. So that's the reason why the likes of Harvey Elliott didn't start. Curtis Jones has got a problem with shin splints, which means he can't manage minutes at all. And that's a problem. He's got a really strange injury that amounts to shin splints. I don't think Curtis Jones makes a difference in there, to be honest with you. I can't decide for the life of me what Curtis Jones is as a footballer and how he helps solve our problems. But I think we went to Crystal Palace expecting Crystal Palace to jump on the back of a 5-2 home defeat to Real Madrid. Crystal Palace fans to jump on the back of that and then make it a bit of a physical battle. So we went with three guys we thought would roll the sleeves up, and if we needed to, well, not so much Keita, but if we needed to, James Milner shirks absolutely nothing physically when it comes to the game. I genuinely believe Klopp went there thinking that they'd try and do a number through the centre of the park.
See, I think pretty much not the opposite. I think a little bit different. I think it was a case of two teams very low on confidence. Us, of course, after the humbling of Madrid, but like Cav says, it shouldn't have been like that because that was Real Madrid. And that before that, we'd kept 2 clean sheets. I believe it's now 3 out of the last 4. Was it last? Yeah, 3 out of the last 4. 3 in the Premier League clean sheets, 7 out of 9 points. So you can dress it up how you want, I guess, from a statistical point of view, because now we have 2 home games against Wolves and United, which we're going to get onto at the end. But Steve, I actually think, and guys as well, I think it was 2 teams that were very low on confidence. They haven't won this year, by the way, guys. They haven't won a game of football this year. They are very low on confidence, of course.
Conceded a lot of goals as well, Grizz. They conceded, I think, 10 before the break. 21
all around us, we were talking about how shit they are in the ground. But we were pulling our hair out how shit we were as well. And this was the problem. We've actually got a brilliant record there. I love going down there because we quieten the crowd down with an early goal usually and control proceedings majority. It was it wasn't the opposite. I think we did but then this is where I agree with you. I do think he picked the most what he thought was going to be, I don't know what you want to put, like sort of know about the atmosphere and deal with it accordingly, right? And Naby Keita, by the way, guys, I was there for his debut. Was it his first start? Where he done a little drag back, beat a player, put a ball over the top to Mohamed Salah, who should have scored. And we all thought to ourselves, this is what we've bought, lads. We have bought an absolute gem of a baller here. I don't remember many more highs after that. I literally don't. I'm sat here. I can remember the Chelsea goal, fantastic goal in the league season behind closed doors. Help me out with the rest. I don't remember many more highlights per se.
Palace goal.
Yeah.
See, funny enough, he usually does well against Palace.
But this is what I'm saying. So I could see that Klopp's picked him because he's done well against Palace. Henderson and Milner. I don't know who wants to come back to it. It's 2023.
I know.
It's 2023 now, and we've got Henderson and Milner being wheeled out, dragged out, asked to come out. I understand the Bejitic. Maybe Cav wants to go on his boy. I understand he can't play every single game. And if you're probably asking me which game should he have played against Palace away or Wolves at home, I probably would have played him Palace away because of the robustness and their energy in midfield. Wolves at home, I would have thought maybe if he's going to miss one of the games, home to Wolves, low block, we need a bit more progressive play, but I don't know. Once we saw Bejitic rested and Fabinho, did you understand the Fabinho resting as well? Did that kind of make sense to you? Because it seems like Henderson's playing more minutes when Henderson's the older player. Do you get where I'm going with this? It's all scrambled at the moment. I did not get it.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised to see Henderson start again because we've spoke recently about how the best Henderson wants to play so intensely and do all the running and stuff, but obviously he can't continue to do that game after game. So you think, okay, he started alongside Fabinho in a couple of games, but then you think one of them would switch out, and you thought the one that would switch out would be Henderson, but then he starts again. So what we're gonna like go full circle and have these performances out of Henderson again, whereby he's not quite got the energy to perform as he wants. Strange. I thought I didn't think Fabinho was great, but I felt like there was some slight signs of improvement.
There was,
and I thought maybe we might try and continue to build on that.
This is what's baffling me, Cav. He's not played much. He didn't play at the World Cup, so pretty much a break. He hasn't been starting for us. Pretty much of a break. He's used to been playing 2-3 games a season for the last 5-6 seasons. This is the one season where he's had a rest. He's not playing 2-3 games a week. We're asking him just to play in this patch because after this, we've only got a game a week, pretty much, to the end of the season. It did not make sense to me, guys. The selection didn't make sense to me. We're going to get into the main headache one of the selections give us was the absence of Darwin Nunez. Again, a young striker that's coming to the fold on the back of huge media scrutiny because of his price tag. And yet here we are. I don't know about you guys then, sorry. Yet here I am, and I will let you guys speak on it, absolutely convinced we're not going to create much from the start. And I'm not a pessimistic guy. You guys know I'm always positive. I'm always trying to look on the bright side of life. Yeah, all of that business, right?
Yeah.
I said to my mates that I was with the game, I said we're gonna create fuck all here, and I was proven right. Why are we feeling like that, Conroy? Just because of Darwin Nunez not being in the squad lineup?
Well, obviously we've mentioned it a few times before the Madrid game. Funnily enough, like obviously Darwin, parts of his game we know are not quite at that maybe the top potential level we could get to, like technical parts here and there, touching that, but his movement's very good. His runs are quite clever as well. Seems to be improving that constantly, and he gives a threat in behind. So either way, defences have to think, like the Newcastle goal we spoke about last week. And again, I'm going to come back to the me and Cav long agenda point for the months now about tactics in the sense of patterns of play and stuff. Our pattern of play is give the ball to Trent, right, most of the time, and then if he can find a pass. And it's not a coincidence that when you've got someone like Darwin Nunez, he excels with that as well, and he's so good at making runs like that Trent can actually find them. So obviously Darwin's not just with Trent, but I feel like that's he's our main creative player. Well, he is our creative player because, to be perfectly honest, we've got another 9 players in the park, and it's at times it doesn't look like they do anything to incisive, or as Cav says, at training to look at teams' tactical weaknesses and exploit that. I never see that, to be perfectly honest. I know we're going to speak about Trent later. We can add to that with with the predictability we try to do as well. And I just, sorry, Grizz, and just in general, that's why it works with Darwin, because he's very good at making those runs. And we've got players like Thiago in the past, but mainly Trent, who can find that. And yeah, I think, to be fair to Darwin, we're the amount of scrutiny and criticism, but he's the one we're crying out for, because he actually gives us a bit of, people say chaos, which is correct, but to be fair to him, he is effective. He causes havoc to defences. And to be honest, right now, we are a million miles off at attacking incisiveness. So I feel like our cohesion, and he brings at least a bit of, I don't know, just a bit of havoc to the defence, which, to be honest, we've not got without him.
I think it's beyond chaos and havoc now. I think they're just so...
No, yeah, that's not... I mean,
he's actually good.
He's actually good. I think it's because they tried to compare it with Haaland at the start, and if you knew football, you knew that was never going to be the case. So I feel like if you have like a kind of level...
He gives us legs, guys. I looked at that team, Steve, and that is the slowest midfield that I can remember, and I've been supporting Liverpool since Nigel Spackman, who was a slow player, right? Charlie Adam, we all remember, right? But as a collective, Steve, Naby Keita, and someone in the chat, tell me if I'm wrong, Naby Keita, Jordan Henderson, and James Milner is the slowest midfield that I can remember. Add to that, not a fully fit Jota. He's at least a couple of weeks away from peak sharpness. Gakpo, we're trying to groom into the most complex role a Liverpool forward has had in the last 5-6 years, which is the Bobby Firmino role. How many times do we speak about it being the most pivotal role in our club's recent history? And we're getting a 19, I don't know how old he is, how old he is, right? He's coming in and trying to play that role away to Crystal Palace with a fairly out of form Salah, who's trying to find his rhythm again. He was better, I must admit, but not great. Jota, 3 slowest midfielders. Where I'm going with this, Steve, I don't know. But I think I'm going towards Jurgen Klopp here. And what he could have done differently, and why can't he do things differently? You're suggesting Curtis Jones had an injury. He was in the squad. He shouldn't be in the squad then. You're suggesting Harvey Elliott wasn't physically... He's not physically ready, robust enough. He's played in many physical, robust games. And we haven't bought a player because we believe in Curtis Jones. We believe in Harvey Elliott. We haven't got rid of Ox. We haven't got rid of Naby Keita in the last couple of years because we think they're able and useful. Something's drastically gone wrong in either the thought process or something, Steve, to be in a position.
I had this conversation with Sam Walker, who's very pro our midfield, and Sam won't mind me saying this to you. We have 9 centre midfielders in the squad. We should look at those 9 centre midfielders and say, it's before the season starts, who can you count on? Who's going to be fit every week? Do we have a Gini Wijnaldum? The answer is no, in terms of availability. Do we have players we can trust? Do we have the right bodies in midfield? And I think now, at this point in the season, everybody to a man would say, no, we haven't. The Harvey Elliott thing, I don't think it's a case of, I don't think he's physical enough. The tried and tested 4-3-3 with the 3 midfield recyclers, Harvey Elliott can't do that job. He plays slightly advanced, and you almost end up with a double pivot. And your right-sided centre midfielder starts 15, 20 yards further forward, so he's in touch with the front 3. That's the role Naby Keita tried to play yesterday, but it didn't work. Didn't work at all. So I'm 100% behind you on the call out on the Naby Keita situation. It's really frustrating. As soon as I saw Nunez wasn't available, I thought, same as you, how do we create? Mo Salah stands up and tries to match other quality players in the team. He did it with Sadio Mane. Sadio Mane raised the bar and Mo Salah said, I'll have some of that and I'll take it on the level and I'll see if you can come with me. So by playing with Sadio Mane, Mo Salah stretched himself and tried to press himself and got more out of himself. Playing with Darwin Nunez, Mo Salah doesn't score against Everton if Darwin Nunez isn't there, by the way. So Darwin Nunez has become the catalyst in the front 3 to drag Salah along with him. That's the way I see it. He is now, and I'm going to exclude Alisson from this role because we know what Alisson does, and Alisson is Alisson. Right now, Darwin Nunez is probably the most important player that we're in on the pitch week in, week out. Because of the comment that was in the chat, He gives us legs. He gives us options. He keeps centre-backs honest. He backs himself. He runs into channels. He runs their legs off defenders. You're right. No pace at all in that side. Mo Salah didn't look quick at all. We never gave him the ball in an opportunity where he could be quick. We tried 3 inside to outside passes in the first 5 minutes, long balls into that channel, and Mitchell sorted him out. When Mitchell missed it, Gay sorted him out. So they had his number. Darwin Nunez is pivotal to Liverpool's attack at the moment. Absolutely pivotal. And you're right about Cody Gakpo. Comes into the team, is learning to play the hardest role in world football, I'd argue. The Bobby Firmino role. There isn't another one. This guy we think could get us somewhere down the line to being as effective in some ways. We've already seen in the games that we've seen, looks after the ball really well. He's a clever, smart footballer, but he's a long way away from being the finished article. And you're 100% correct about Diogo Jota being 2-3 weeks away from being really sharp. It took one injury to Darwin Nunez for all of us to doubt our bench, to look at our bench and go, whoa, hang on a minute. Who comes on? Who changes it? We did it. I went the watch along yesterday. That was the same thing that all of us said. Where you can't look at the bench. You can bring Bobby on. Bobby doesn't give you legs. Bobby gives you guile. Well, there's no point in having guile when you're up against 2 banks of 4 and making space really difficult. You need someone to stretch them, someone to run them. And the role that Gakpo's playing, he's too busy playing with his back to goal, 20, 30 yards too deep because there's nothing coming from the midfield. So it was really, really frustrating yesterday. And I'll go back to the points I made right at the top of the stream. I think, and stand by, Jurgen Klopp sitting at home. He's not got the same concerns and the same issues that we've got because he didn't get beat. And that was his quest after getting absolutely rinsed at home and all these players falling off a cliff against Real Madrid and all the individual errors against Real Madrid. They were playing give and goes around our midfielder. Nacho was dropping his shoulder and going past our centre midfielders. The second half was embarrassing. And what he's done there is he set up a team to go there, give a reasonable physical account of ourselves and not to lose the game. And he's achieved his objective. He genuinely now believes that he can do the difference between now and Wednesday night when Wolves come to Anfield, where we go into a game on the front foot, feeling like we can win a game of football. Because I'm pretty sure you all would agree, watching Liverpool last night, I don't think they felt like they could win a game of football. Some of them didn't want to be there.
Just a super chat with regards to that, Steve. I come to Cav with this one. He says, question, do you guys think Klopp what's good? Appreciate the support as usual, my guy. Do you guys think Klopp relies too much on balls over the top too much? What Steve was talking about, the Trent to Darwin Nunez is the only avenue I see of us causing any kind of danger or threat. I do. And I need to see more from a top manager like Klopp tactically. Absolutely. A couple of other ones that I'm just happy about, Man United. Natural says, Grizz, tell Subaru, I'll see him in 2 weeks. Yeah, no problem. See you in 2 weeks. Gandahar says, we have to start. We have started to block out on certain goals. Yeah, we're going to get into that because look, on the back of what Steve said, I have elements of I have huge elements of frustration because it does seem our patterns of play, like Conroy and you guys have been spoken about, our methods and our ways of scoring goals is very limited. Do you remember New York? Newcastle. I wish I was in New York. I will be in June, but more to reveal later. Do you remember we spoke about the goals against Newcastle and said, oh, finally, Liverpool kind of goals? You know, we could Trent, and then we saw Mane-esque runs and finishes and chaos, whatever Mane used to do. Darwin Nunez does that. Take Darwin Nunez out of the equation, we're back to where the fuck's our creation going to come from? Where's our goals going to come from? We had Robertson crossing the ball in, making lung-bursting runs because he's the only one who's got energy right now in the whole team, apart from Nunez. He's the only one who can run, basically. But he's crossing the ball into, like Steve says, Gakpo, who's busy trying to learn, trying hard, right? I don't rate Gakpo. You guys already know. So I'm not going to jump on his neck after a 0-0 because it's not the problem. He's the least of our problems right now. So people, don't take this the wrong way. Oh, here we go. Him and his Gakpo agenda. Gakpo tried his hardest out there, Cav. I saw him. First time I've seen him live and in the flesh. The kid was trying his heart out. But he's been asked to play the Bobby, and he's in his head, he's dropping deep and he's trying to do Bobby Firmino things, which takes away our goal scoring threat. Bobby used to do that because he used to know Mane and Salah are like hawks straight into that box when he does that. Right now, when Gakpo's doing that, he's joining three absolute, I want to use the right word, donkeys in midfield, right? Three absolute donkeys in midfield right now, the way they're playing, right? And then he's got Salah tucked out on the wide right, and he's got Jota, who's not fully fit. This is a tactical issue from Jurgen Klopp, how he sets up this team away to Crystal Palace, who are absolutely dead themselves. They haven't won a game of football. Tactically, going forward, we're either relying on Nunez or we're relying on a young midfielder. There is so much disparity in middle. What is going on, Cav?
I think the concerning thing is I've seen a few people in the chat say, oh, we're going to, when Diaz is back and we've got Nunez back, we're going to cook. And that's very exciting. And by all means, have that hope, you know, when these guys are back fit to think that our fortunes are going to turn around. But my main concern is that it doesn't take many players to be out for our levels to drop so much. And that's the worry. Like plan A, when everyone's fit and everyone's fine-tuned, is absolute perfection almost. We've seen it. But when we lose one or two key components, the drop-off can't be that big, not for a club the size of Liverpool. We have to find a way of just having a plan B, if you want to call it, or a different way of playing, because we can't rely on high octane energy, high press and, you know, pace and getting it to the fullbacks and stuff all the time. We have got to work on a way, in my opinion, whereby we are a bit more tactically inept. You know, we have more technical players that are comfortable to receive the ball and try and play an eye over needle pass or thread a ball through or whatever. It just feels like everything again is just a little bit too predictable and too easy to play against. Nunez, I think one of the comments that I really liked in the chat, apologies didn't bring it up. He says he's one of the only players that doesn't play within himself. And that's exactly how I feel about this team at the minute. Nunez is the guy that's just like, you know what? Yeah, I've missed plenty of chances and I've had plenty of criticism, but I'm still going to step out onto that pitch and give it my all and just run and chase. If I have to run from the left side of the pitch to the right, just to press someone, I'll do it. And it just filters through in this energy that's there. But I feel like without him, everybody else is just like, okay, I know my role. I've been there, I've done it, and let's just see how it goes. But how it's going isn't good. So somebody just needs to break the mold and just go and make something happen. And I feel like there's too many players that just don't want to do that. Now, obviously, a manager will say credit to them because they're sticking to the plan. But when the plan's not working, it just feels really lethargic and, to be honest, quite slow and boring at times. I cry out for somebody just in that team, especially, you know, in a game like Palace, just to go, screw it, I'm just going to give this a try. Just someone take somebody on, someone run at somebody. I know it might not mount to nothing, but you have to try and, you know, break that defense and try and make something happen. And it feels like nobody's really prepared to do that. So tactically, I feel like Steve said a few weeks back, maybe months back now, that we're at risk of becoming a long ball team. And to be honest, I think that's probably where we are now, to be totally honest with you. Like Conroy say, it's give it to Trent, maybe Robbo, if he finds himself in a position where he can run forward and just whack a ball into the box. Try and pick somebody out if you can.
Sorry, you just kind of answered your own question to some degree there. We're a long ball team because we don't trust our midfield. That's why we go long. That's why the transition is direct, because we don't have the players in midfield you can give the ball, they can engineer something. We don't have that guile that you're right, that we need it. We don't have it. And that's the reason why we don't do it.
I almost feel like, no, we don't have it. And what we do have isn't good enough. But with somebody like a Carvalho or an Elliott, just stick them in a 10. Maybe we could see something close to it. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe do you know
what the problem is? I agree with you. Do you know what the problem is, guys? We're going through a severe confidence issue. So do you remember we used to praise Klopp for picking the likes of Elliott in the midfield? Oh, that's brave of him. So Elliott, Thiago, and a Fabinho, we'd say, oh, and then we'd see Elliott be able to receive the ball on a half turn, be able to create space for himself. We think, oh, okay, this is growing on us now because he started off on a wide right. We converted him into an 8 and we were trying to work out. That was Klopp's tactical plan. Thiago, obviously, the signing of Thiago was completely different from Ginny in that midfield. So I do get that we had a plan, but the worrying thing, guys, and give me your input now. This is my main worry. My worry is that we've ripped up that plan after 1.5 seasons. I think even with the players that are linked with us, the Jude Bellinghams, the Mateus Nunes, tall, strong, powerful runners of the ball, not the most skillful, going to get the ball, your Carvalhos, your Elliots, your Thiagos. We're reverting back to, it seems, powerful athletes after 1.5 years of giving this way a shot. Or do you think it's just injuries? Let's just get back the forwards that we need and maybe we can go again. Because I'm confused, guys. I know my question doesn't make sense, maybe, because I'm just thinking out loud.
It does, but it's sorry, Conroy. It's a situation where we're trying to do what we did 3 years ago with the players in the squad now, and it can't work, and it doesn't work, and they don't have the physical capabilities to do it. So when it's not working, you go back to what's tried and tested. You go back to what you think you know works. Football evolves. It could be that you're an advocate for 4-2-3-1 just as I am, or a 4-2-4. You kind of want to see. When I said that a couple of weeks ago, you clipped it and you put it out, and rightly so. Do you want to play a double pivot with Bellingham and one other? There's a question mark whether that works. To try the system that worked for Ronaldo, Fabinho and Henderson with Thiago, Keita and modern day Fabinho doesn't work because they can't give you the physicality, they can't give you the press, they can't give you the squeeze, they can't give you the intensity, the fitness or the availability. What we're suffering from is every now and then a manager gets lucky. Alex Ferguson got lucky with class of 92. Jurgen Klopp got lucky that he found 3 centre midfielders that were a perfect foil for each other. Their availability was really good. They had 2 athletes outside an absolutely tremendous central defensive midfielder. Those things don't last forever. And I'm going to repeat something I said a couple of weeks ago. The first sign of madness is to keep asking the same question and expecting a different answer when you're not going to get one. And we keep asking the same question with the players in the squad to put them into the same formation and the same game plan that worked with Ronaldo, Fabinho and Henderson. That is finished because that trio has been broken up. That's where we didn't evolve, and that's where I think we have our issues.
Mash sent in a super says, just a big up for all the therapy and reality checks. Appreciate that, bro. I wish we had a Mash right now in midfield. Mash Carano, what a monster he was. Sorry, Con, all over you.
No, just a few little points on what you've all said there. I think obviously in general the lack of quality in the game yesterday, I think summed it up. I think there was not a lot of quality, and I think that's where we are, which is kind of ridiculous. And on top of the point about Klopp, I actually get what you're saying, Grizz, because I watched your it was 90 minutes last week, and I think you summed up very well. I think we've had enough of a experience of Klopp not having that original tactic, the way he wants to play with Liverpool, to kind of confirm now that I think Klopp is good tactically and staff are good tactically, but they're not, I think you said they're not tactically astute. I would not say that. Not tactically flexible astute at all. Adaptability, no. And I think Redknapp made a comment last. He said, right now there's probably a handful of coaches there's probably quite a few coaches who could get a better tune out of these players because they'd come in and adapt tactically. However, you're not ever going to think about Klopp leaving or anything like that, because when he gets the refreshments, his plan A or the way he wants to play will be better than what they could do. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I thought it was an interesting way to look at it. But I think it's quite clear now that we keep asking for all these things, but I think there's enough of a sample size now to know that, yes, that team are good, tactically they're good, especially that one way of playing, or not just that, there's tweaks to that, but that's the principle. I think around that, they've shown that we aren't the best. We're decent, but we're not tactically astute. I would not say that we are amazing tactically, and I think that's been confirmed, to be honest. It's not one or the other. It doesn't have to be terrible or amazing. I just think when it comes to that tactical flexibility, we're not great at it, because we don't need
to listen to Grizz. Forget Grizz. What the fuck does he know? What does Steve know? What does Conroy know? What does Gavin know? Carlo Ancelotti knows a bit, right? Yeah. Carlo Ancelotti, possibly in the top 5 managers of all time, knows a bit. And if his reference start predictability, right? And we know what he means. He means it in a good way, possibly in a bad way as well, but we know what it means. And we're seeing what it means on a weekly basis. Then it suggests that Klopp isn't great tactically. And I've never called him great tactically, so I'm not flip-flopping. I've always said he's one of the greatest managers and a manager. He's a manager. He's a manager of men, a team, a group of people, whatever that involves. Even his coach, he's a manager of his coach. So his coach knows what he wants, and then the coach trains the players or whatever, and maybe gives the tactics. But tactically, if you're saying, and if anyone's going to argue back with me, I can argue all day and night that Klopp is not great tactically. I honestly can. Shout out KD sends in a generous super chat. He says, concerning about the plan though, Klopp won't make in-game changes when the plan isn't working. Madrid, he doesn't adjust when 2 up, sit back, doesn't adjust when 2-2 or 3-2. And obviously we're going to come into today, the last 20 minutes of Palace, which I thought was shocking. We haven't touched on the game. Surprise.
Yeah.
Because what is there to touch on it? Apart from a brilliant clearance from Hendo, there's not much else to talk about. Brilliant clearance from Hendo. I'm going to pick on a couple of individuals, if I may. They may be your favorites. They may be my favorites of the past. Legends of the club, heroes, one hopefully still got an amazing long career ahead of him. 2 guys on the probably other ends of the spectrum of their careers in terms of Liverpool. Joel Matip, I think is finished. I said the same thing about Fabinho, and so many people raised their eyebrows. I was right then, and I'm right now. Joel Matip is another. He's absolutely finished, panel. I'm not joking. He couldn't run, and I wanted to go and see him live because we've seen clips of him struggling and scooping the ball up in the air like he doesn't have to strike the ball cleanly and dribbling into people. And we've praised it so many times because our structure was much better. The players were fitter and younger. When he strides into those places, people have the physical capability to cover, the physical capacity to cover. None of those are happening right now. He's going into avenues where he doesn't really know where he's going because of Darwin Nunez being new, Cody Gakpo being new, even Naby Keita playing every one in 5 games. So it's a total different set of players that he's dealing with. Trent either playing as an inverted fullback last season, now he's been asked to play as a wide fullback. It's a mishmash of tactics. Him, Trent, Naby was an absolute disaster on that right-hand side. It was embarrassing, shambolic, and how Jurgen Klopp didn't see it and change it early, I'm worried. Whoever wants to go after me, feel free. I was embarrassed to see that right-hand side. It's been our strength and our main focus. Add Salah as well, sorry. Add Salah to that as well. Our right-hand side is where all our pros are and our cons are. Make of that what you will, guys. That's the main essence of the show today. All our issues and all our pros are down the right. We hardly see any damage done down the left, nor do we see any creativity anymore down our left. Why? Get your thinking caps on. Give me, and I want to talk to you guys about it. Chat, let us know as well, because I'm confused.
Quick point on the left-hand side. When we were at our best, there was a triangle going on between Sadio Mane, Andy Robertson, and Gini Wijnaldum.
Yep.
There's no triangle down there anymore. Because of the way we're playing, when Thiago plays, Thiago's trying to do everything because he's aware the players around him are not delivering. So he's going really deep, picking the ball up, and he's forcing passes off the edge of his box into people who are struggling for confidence. They don't want the ball, invariably they lose it, and we're on the back foot again. We've all talked about how quickly we give the ball away. That's not something we did when we were successful. So that there are no little give and goes going on the left side. There are no overlaps. Ever since Seamus Coleman missed a free header against Everton, Andy Robbo's game changed that day because he realised that defensively, if he went walkabout, we might concede. He's not the same attacking force that he was. Again, we don't trust our midfield, boys. We don't trust what's going on in midfield.
Steve, the manager doesn't trust his midfield, but the manager is the one who decided to keep and persevere with his midfield. So he has to take a lot of the blame.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's not. Listen, we all love him to bits, but he's not absolvent of criticism.
Yeah.
We've all said that. Cav said that on a couple of different occasions. I think if you sat down with him, away from TV cameras and things where he's obliged to not throw his team under the bus, he'd probably tell you there's things he wish he'd done differently, and that might be one of them. I guess we see in the summer what the plan is to put that right, but it has cost us a season to get to the point where we will be forced to put that right. And that, as Liverpool fans, because we want the best for our team, we want to be challenging for stuff, that's really been a difficult sort of pill to swallow for all of us. And yes, he has to take some criticism for that. He's had 3 or 4 players do what happened to Steven Gerrard and Jamie Carragher is you wake up one day and your legs are just gone and there's nothing you can do about it. When you get to 32, 33, you don't get a warning that says next week you're going to wake up and you can't run. And I'm thinking of Joe Matip. Joe Matip will be revered by Liverpool fans for years to come because of the games he played in and what we won as a team. But there comes a time when you have to look at these players and say, it's done. I think we all know, and certainly memorings in certain avenues, that if Liverpool get a bid for Joe Matip in the summer, then it'll be thank you very much, sir. Thank you for everything you did. We will love you forever, but go and finish your career in something that's a little bit less demanding where you can enjoy yourself a bit more. And I'm okay with that. But there's 3 or 4 other players in the team that maybe 5 or 6 that falls into the same category. Fabinho's legs have gone. I did a little check, and I keep banging this drum, right? But it's really important that people recognise this. Fabinho and Henderson have played 1,000 games between them, 1,000 first-team games of football.
Fucking hell.
In modern football today, that will drain your body, particularly in Liverpool centre midfield. They're gone. There's nothing in the tank. You can't plug them into a charger and Fabinho rocks up a month's time with the break from the World Cup, with the break from not playing. I am concerned that physically that guy is not up to the job in our centre midfield anymore. And I've seen people who think yourself included that have said if we got a decent bid for him in the summer, you'd have to consider it. But if you've not been hiding, unless you've been hiding under a rock for the last 12 months, why would you come to Liverpool Football Club with 25, 30 million pounds for a player that's not performing? So we've got all these issues, all these players who fell off a cliff, all these players that are tired, all these players that are mentally and physically drained because there's only so many times you could try and do something and not get there before you start questioning yourself and whether you can get there. And I'm talking about winning trophies here. And then suddenly your self-confidence hits to the lowest ebb that it possibly can. And it might need a move to another club under a different set of pressures, different physicality, different game plan, and most importantly, not playing in the Premier League week in, week out, which is physically very hard to do. So I think we've got a massive, massive rebuild. It starts in the centre midfield. We think we're going to get a centre back in the summer. If we get 2 centre midfielders and a centre back in the summer, and then Fabinho and Henderson do the squad player role, we might be in a slightly better position than we are this season. We are not going to go and buy 6 or 7 players. I think you'd recognise that, Grizz. That's not going to happen. But they have to invest each and every transfer window to address the players that you can identify having problems than leaving it like they did this year till it's too late.
We're going to get into the real debate, and Cav and Conroy, I'm just giving you a 1-minute warning. It's going to be a role revolving around Trent Alexander-Arnold. But there's over 500 of you amazing, loyal subscribers. You guys are amazing. We love you. Leave a like on the stream because there's not even half of you have liked the stream for some strange reason. It's like you guys have lost your legs as well, like the Liverpool midfield. A couple of super chats before I get Cavs and Conroy's. We continue with the meat of the show into really the meaty part. The question for Cav, Jamrock, appreciate the support. He says, did Ancelotti change his tactics in the Champions League final last year versus the games leading up to the Champions League final where Madrid play more open?
Because we addressed something a few weeks back. I made the point that I was happy for Liverpool to roll out the same tactics for the Champions League final as what the tactics were that got us there, because I made the point that I think as a manager, if you get your team to the Champions League final, you've almost done your job. And it's then on the players to go out and just get them across the line for that final game. And Jamrock did question me and said, well, Ancelotti adjusted in the final and ends up getting a result. But yeah, look, he did change slightly. They were comeback kings in the lead up to that final. They were a bit more conservative and they managed the game. But that's what they do because they have vast experience. And look, we've experienced that yet again. Only earlier this week, Real Madrid have got stars all over the pitch, but they've got bags and bags and bags of experience, and they just know not to panic. They know how to stay in games, and they know when to attack and kill you, and that's what they do.
Shane McGee sent in a super chat as well. He says, agree with you guys. Klopp probably knows he's wrong, but I feel like he's written the season off and he's looking towards the summer. Hope John gets the checkbook out, mate. Yeah, we're hoping and praying, and I feel as though they've been pushed into a corner, and I'm not praising them now when I say they will, and I'm not being pro FSG and FSG in when I say they will, but read between the lines. Businessmen, when they're forced to do something, do it. It's because of the sake of their business. So that's what I think is going to happen. Conroy and Cav and Steve, of course, lot of frustration, anger, all sorts of stuff with regards to Trent's performance as well, especially in that first half. Well, actually, no, he survived about 15, 20 minutes of the second half, didn't he? Matip, I've written off. And that doesn't mean he's not a hero of mine. I just don't think he's good enough, fit enough, strong enough, fast enough to play it for Liverpool Football Club anymore at the level that we aspire to. Trent Alexander-Arnold is nothing like that in terms of age, fitness, technique, all of those things. But there's something wrong with Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I can't put my finger on it. And I don't want to just pick out one thing and just give my opinion. I want a group chat about it. Trent Alexander-Arnold started off as Steve will know more. Steve, was it an attacking 10 almost? Attacking midfielder, wasn't it? Was he an 8?
On the front foot midfielder, yeah. On the front foot, yeah. Definitely he's sort of looking, because the passing range has always been there. He was a creative midfielder, not a defensive one.
So he is converted into a fullback in a Klopp system that relied on creativity and energy to come from the flanks. Him and Robertson were fucking brilliant. Do you guys remember the Leicester City game on Boxing Day?
Yeah,
where they were unstoppable.
Yeah.
Absolutely unstoppable. In recent years, maybe maximum 2 years, maximum, he's been asked to be almost a Kevin De Bruyne from fullback, be inverted, don't go overlapping as much. Robertson does that role, and we've just tried to change the average positions, you could say. What now? What now? Because there seems to be a big question mark over his defending, about his naivety, and about his body language. And there, people are saying if his body language it don't fix, he's becoming a problem in a defense, because the rest of the team don't function like it used to, and therefore he's not being protected as much. Whose fault is this? Is this Trent's fault? Is this Klopp's fault? Whose fault is it then? And like Klopp evolved him into an inverted 8 and nearly won everything. This is where it's confusing, guys, because I don't know what the answer is. Because we nearly won everything with him inverted. Nearly won everything. Yet now, 6 months later, we're losing everything.
Mm-hmm. Can I just jump in here? I feel like we mentioned this recently. I think on whose fault it is, you probably see a bit of both. Like obviously his body language as of late, it looks like he's getting annoyed. He's not following stuff. I do think he's had good moments though. I feel like there is this weird narrative now where it's like Trent's the most out of form player. I wouldn't say that, because as you say, the Darwin Nunez assist, like he's had games where he's actually been one of the better performers. Obviously last night wasn't the case. Like you got the Mateta chance, which is just like would sum us up. To be honest, the fact that he should score, the one that hits the bar, that's a crazy
mistakes. What are those two mistakes? He's seen Joe Matip cost us in recent weeks.
Yeah.
He's seen Joe Gomez cost us numerous times this season. He's done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
In the first 15, 20 minutes a game.
I feel like, he's always going to have the creative head on, in the sense of he'll try and do a 1-2 to get round. You've seen it numerous times where he's trying to get on an attack and we've not even won the ball back yet. It's maybe a 50-50. So I think both parties involved in that, mainly Trent, that attitude, that's got to come on the player. But when you talk about
I think we've lost Conrad.
Is he gone?
Yeah, he'll be back.
Well, let's go back to the start of the season with Trent, right? Because I think we can all agree that Trent's had some really good games defensively, especially when he's been, given a task sort of one-on-one defending these really tricky wingers. He's had good games. I've seen him defend out Sane, Neymar. He's done well against St. Max in the past and things. These really good, world-class forwards. And so defensively, I think he can be okay. It's his concentration. He just switches off a lot. And that's been the criticism for a lot of his sort of since he got into the Liverpool side. Attacking, we know, is insane, and he's been crucial for what we've won and what he's won. Everything domestically. I think at the start of the season there was a bit of a change with him, though. He started to drift into areas that I wasn't used to seeing him in, and I remember the Charity Shield where he scores the goal, doesn't he? He comes into at the edge of the 18-yard box, hits across it and puts it in the far post. So he's on the edge, sort of central of the 18-yard box. And at the time I thought, oh, that's fantastic because Trent has so much ability. We've seen him create from deep on the right side. We've seen him create from the byline on the right side, and the variety in his assists. But actually he's a really good technical hitter of the ball, so he can get a shot away. And I thought, if we could get him more central and actually getting direct shots on goal, maybe this is something we can add to his game. But I think that was the idea. I don't think it worked though. And for so many games at the start of the season, he was drifting in almost like 10 positions, centre forward positions. And I was like, this is crazy because you are so far away from where your actual position is. And the cover isn't good enough anymore. That this is just a crazy problem. So I think as the season went on, we retracted that idea and he became positionally a lot better. And he just stuck to sort of that sided right back position and was creating more chances from deep and not venturing forward so much. He still had the odd press where he goes up the pitch, but he was sort of occupying that more natural right back position, right wing back position. And then it was a question about his attitude. I think it improved slightly. Well, actually drastically when he came back from the World Cup. But leading up to the World Cup, he felt like something was up. Felt like he was having a bit of the Dele Allis about him, where a lot of hype, and rightly so, because he's an incredible player, won everything domestically. Felt like he just hit that wall in his career where it was like, okay, here's the first real question mark. Are you going to be that player that goes on and fulfills a really, long quality career and gets labelled, rightly so, as one of the best right backs you've ever seen? Or is it going to stop now? Is this hype and this attention and this glory that you got going to get to you, and suddenly you don't begin to work as hard as perhaps you once did, and then it all begins to fall away from there? And I feel like he went through like the motions a lot of this season, and then when he come back from the World Cup, I think being left out of obviously he was in the squad but didn't really play. I think that it was like, okay, fine, World Cup's gone now. International stuff's gone now. Let's concentrate on Liverpool. I'm a Liverpool lad. I support this team as well. Let's try and achieve something again this season. And I feel like he's maybe at a point now where he feels like, and then maybe his free kick sums this up, where he's a bit like, I'm a bit tired of having to drag this team. I support this team, so it hurts me when we're playing like this. But I am literally the creative outlet. I'm speaking in first person now. I don't know why, but I am the creative outlet. So often I've come up trumps when it's creating chances, creating goals. I'm always asked and criticised defensively. And maybe it's just simply the pressure for it. Maybe it's just like, okay, I can't be the guy that you come to all the time. Like maybe if he was at another club, right, maybe perhaps not on Liverpool's level, they would recognise his ability and go, you know what, we're just going to plan the team around him. He is that good. We're just going to facilitate everything Trent can and wants to do. And they'll just get bodies around him and he'll just be the focal point in terms of the attack. But I don't feel like we do it here. He's just an asset to us. And I don't feel like we're willing to sort of complement his game fully. It's just go out there and do what you do and we'll see what happens. And I think he's probably just, much like his fans, just feeling the frustration and feeling the disappointment and feeling, the pressure of also playing in that team as well at the moment, which is why sometimes now he gets caught out and he just looks like he's not bothered because he's probably just, wants the season to be over already.
I'm gonna come to you, Con, next about that and his altercation, which has been, spoken about with Henderson. And I'm gonna give my personal experience of watching him really carefully and closely, his body language and everything as well, because obviously I'm a body language expert now. But I like this from HSN. He says Trent looks soulless. What I mean by that, he doesn't appear happy or upbeat in around games like he was before. Something is bothering him. As much as it's his game, there's something more, I feel. KD sends in a super chat. Appreciate the support, bro. He says Trent's attitude. He wants to be captain. Do you think all the talk of Jude coming for that role has him like this? He's always been laid back. Lately, he's been the one talking to refs, reference decisions or anything like that. Maybe on the back of that, Conroy, and just the Trent chat. And then you and Steve, I want your opinions on maybe is it time for a formation change, tweak, or change of role?
Yeah,
Trent,
sorry for cutting out, guys. It seems to
You're
be
good.
issues in my area at the moment because it's playing up a little bit. But yeah, for what I was saying, I think kind of Cav alluded to that. For me, we need to cut the shit. Trent is our best player for he is easily the best player, and in football terms, he's an absolute diamond. So I think sometimes there needs to be a bit, we play for a team and all. I understand that, but it's getting to the point now when I'm being like, he's probably not going to be a right back in the long term, like a fully functioning full back, right? And we don't even use him that way, but I mean in a 4. And it's just sometimes it annoys me. It's like, right now, our game plan is most of it is give the ball to Trent and he'll do something. So if I'm him, I'm like, well, I'm the main source of creativity, but I've still got to track my man consistently. Instead of, why don't you give me more protection? And I'm the main source anyway to allow me to flourish more and do less. It's not rocket science. So I feel like the fact that we've not tried that once, and how many shows that we do a show every week, but we've not once went, why don't we try maybe a narrow 4-4-2, have him out there, and instead of, in it, because it's different playing in a free midfield, and I accept that. I don't think he is that player, or even playing a 3 at the back, 5 at the back to help him. Like, I think we need to maybe just look at ourselves and see he is an unbelievable talent, and there would be top 5 teams in the world would take him in a heartbeat and utilize him 100%. But we sometimes, right now, I feel like we don't see that. Like he's always going to have mistakes as a defender. It's always going to happen. But you could get the best out of him. Like his creativity could be on a next level if you just gave him that protection. I think it is anyway. Like we're relying on a 23-year-old or whatever age he is, probably younger than that. That's our creativity. That's it. If he's not playing, let's not talk a load of rubbish here. If Trent's out for 6 months, right, I'm worried about our creativity because we've not got a lot right now. I'm seeing players who just with signed Cody Gakpo, and I'm not jumping a bandwagon. I think it's a bad time, but it's like I don't know what they're working on in training. I don't see anything that says like, oh, that's what they're trying to exploit weaknesses. I don't see that, and I just feel like he is the main creator, and I don't know why we don't just think, do you know what? Let's play Gomez at right back today. Let's play Milner and put him in a 4-4-2, narrow 4-4-2, very similar to United 99 season with Beckham, or try a free at the back. Now I know I've not got many centre backs now, but try something a bit different instead of doing the same. Steve said doing the same things and expecting different results. He has good performances, don't get me wrong, at right back, he has, but overall it's like he's the main guy when it comes to creating. So why don't we give him a bit of protection? I just think we need to accept he's not going to be this like right back who's going to be defensively solid in his career. I think he can have good performances, but there's always going to be weaknesses. There's weaknesses to everyone's game. It baffles me that we've not tried it once. We've got a write-off for the next 3 months in the sense of we'll try for Champions League. I don't think we'll get it. Why don't we try something now and prepare us for next season instead of doing the same thing and it'll just be win a game, lose a game, draw a game. And it'll be like that. There'll not be any consistency. And I feel like now would be the right time to try that. So I know I've went on a bit, but I can't believe we talk about using the best talents we've got and we've not tried that once. And it's actually annoying me now, to be honest.
So basically, Steve Conroy is saying that he's too much of a talent not to be building a team around or a formation around, or at least
he's a best player. He's a best player.
Or is it time now to create a formation around Trent moving forward?
Yes and no. Yes, because we know he's got all the ability in the world. No, because there's an arrogance developing in his personality, which I'm not keen on. When he calls out, he spoke to for a mistake in the first 10 minutes, and his response was the second word was off. We'll say that much, shall we? So basically, he told one of his teammates to F off because he'd been dug out for a mistake.
His captain.
Yeah. Okay, his captain, right? That's
you not heard what Jordan Henderson says to players, though. So are they players just allowed to get called everything under the sun by Henderson and not say anything back?
That thing you saw in lockdown with Henderson going, "Go on, son, that's great, son, do that, son." There's 4 players in every team that does that. That's not unique. I don't understand why that was put out there.
I'm not talking about that, Steve. I'm talking about if you watch and you've been to games, you don't have to go to the games to see that. Like, you can see what Henderson says to certain players.
Also, imagine Henderson having that game and then criticising you.
Exactly.
And it's
I promise you this, right? Our coaching staff are far worse than Henderson. I know from a well-known source that our coaching staff and the team on the line are awful. So they're aggressive. They swear at opposition. They're not very nice people to be around. So it's little wonder that Henderson's on the pitch screaming, shouting, calling players' names because everything's gone to pot at the moment. I'm not suggesting it's right. I get your point. You don't swear at your captain. End of. If you swore at Graham Souness when you got in the changing room, he'd take your head off his shoulders. You swore at Steven Gerrard when you got in the changing room, he'd take your head off his shoulders. There isn't. I know something I can't talk about, and I'll tell you off air at some point because about the situation. He needs to understand his role in the team. He is an absolute precocious talent. We should be building the team around him. Do we move him forward into midfield and say to him, "Go on then, there's the keys, go and unlock every single team we're playing against"? Like it or not, at some point, Klopp and his coaching staff have got to address the fact that every team we play against plays down our right-hand side. Every team we play against. And there are no exceptions to that whatsoever. Nobody goes and tests Robertson and Van Dijk because history and statistically you get nothing from them. So everything goes down that our right-hand side, the opposition's left-hand side. That's because the way we play Trent, I've said this loads of times, start the season, Klopp gets him in the office and says, "I don't care if we concede goals in the right back position. I'll deal with your cover." And you're right, the cover's not good enough at the moment. Your job is to go and challenge Kevin De Bruyne for creating the most goals in the Premier League season on season. That is your job. Klopp came out 6 weeks ago and said, "I don't understand why you guys have got this narrative in the media that Trent doesn't defend. We don't ask him to." I don't know what else the club can do to try and make people realise that the role we give him means defensively we are carrying him. And we're seeing this week in, week out. People are getting in behind him. He's not bothered because someone said to him, "Don't worry about it." The personality the guy's got is he believes in himself. He believes in his own ability. And that's why he's as good as he is. All the best players are like that. Perhaps doesn't feel he warrants any criticism, which would explain why I swore at his captain yesterday. He needs to be moved. Where do we move him to? Conroy, you've said before, you don't see him as an 8. I don't see him as an 8. I think the job's too big for him because you have to be defensively disciplined to do that too. What do you do with him is the million-dollar question, isn't it? You play a three at the back and then you put 2 in the middle, 2 wing-backs that come narrow when you don't have the ball. There's a possibility that works for him because that gives him a little bit of protection because you've got Khanage sitting in a right centre-back role behind him or someone that we signed in the future, who knows. And then he gets a little bit of protection. At this moment in time, he's not creating, he's not defending, he's got a little bit of an attitude problem about him at the moment. Real Madrid asked about him in the summer, that there will be others that ask about him this summer because from the outside looking in, there's a problem there and it's not working.
Cav and Conroy, yeah, look, I'm not going to lie, I was fuming with his attitude. I agree, Conroy. Swearing and shouting is part and parcel of the game. Players do it all the time. I agree with you.
I think that happens a lot.
Hendo does it all the time to everyone else and everything else.
When he plays a bad pass,
but I tell you what was the most important part of that whole thing, Conroy, which blows up your theory. I'm sorry. Was Klopp hauling him off?
No, but that's not a theory. I'm just saying I understand why he does it. He's a human.
I know. But this is the whole point. If you haven't shown any emotion, because I'm telling you now, because I was there, This is not inside information. I was fucking there. And I was watching him while Virgil had a go at him. Hendo didn't even have a go at him for the first mistake. Hendo just like knew. Professionals know you're better than that. You're Trent Alexander-Arnold. Matip went, come on, no problem. Virgil was like, what the fuck? At no point did he acknowledge them or his mistake or anything of the sort. You can't defend that, Conroy. No, second mistake. Again, the same. This time, Hendo shouted, like, "Come on!"
No, I'm not defending the mistakes, but I'm just saying, like,
no. Mistakes happen. I agree.
We swear at each other all the time. I feel like sometimes we emphasize that. But Grizz, I get that. Like, I really do. Honestly, guys, I get what you're saying, and I get what Steve's saying, right? But in times in life, this is football, right? It's about having the best key to success, right? Trent's a generational talent, right? And at the moment, it seems to me that you're saying he's not been creative, Steve. I still think he has actually been quite creative in a lot of games. And it's like, if we, as you say, like an offer Madrid, if you let Trent go, that would be easily the biggest mistake, because he'd go somewhere else, he'd dominate, he'd be a KDB level success. It's so obvious, you can see it. And in times, it's about looking at, like, from a team point of view, not about we're all in this together. No, it's about what gives you success and the most chance of winning games. And ultimately, it doesn't matter what he's like as a person. Sorry, I take that back. It doesn't matter if he's maybe got a chip in his shoulder at the moment. I mean, but I feel like, obviously, you don't want him to be a dickhead. I get that. But I just feel like you can see that give him more protection and stop him having to constantly do something that he's not naturally great at. And he's had enough time to improve as a defender. He's probably not going to hit that level. And just let him create, let him be that person. And I just feel like it'd be a massive mistake. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's a question of respect. I think you made the point earlier, Grizz, when we were talking about ability and performance, that actually it's our most experienced pros that are currently letting us down. And I think there's this huge sort of extreme in this squad at the moment, is you have the senior pros that aren't performing and aging, and then you have a host of new players that can't really talk to anybody yet because they're still finding their feet. And I think Trent finds himself somewhat in the middle as an experienced yet still relatively young guy. So when someone like Henderson barks at him, he's like probably turning around and go, look, I respect you as a man and what you've done, but right now, how can you shout at me? Because look at what you're giving this team. And he probably says, when Matip encourages him, he's probably looking at Matip going, I don't want your encouragement because you're not playing well either.
Is this right though, guys? Is this actually right?
Well, no, it's not. And you'd like to think he'd do better, but it's football. And in the heat in the moment, when your teammates are playing terribly and they're trying to get on your back, I think you naturally would react. You would look at them and go, don't shout at me, concentrate on your own job. I'm out here every single week getting criticized whilst being the most creative player on this pitch. So will you just get off my back for a minute? And I feel like this is where I'm trying to say about it doesn't justify a bad attitude. You have to be better than that. You have to be maturer than that. But we have to also be real. And this is football, and it's high intense level football. And when he's showing that attitude, or like he doesn't care, he's just responding in a moment. And I feel like after the game, obviously what we're not privy to is he maybe goes in the dressing room, he speaks to Henderson, look, I didn't mean to flip out, you mate, blah, 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 blah. But in the game, like I say, he is so vital to us that I think sometimes it's just the criticism. You just need to chill and it's going to make a mistake, but we need you. The most respected players on the pitch, whether it's right or wrong, are the best players. I can tell you that from experience, playing football all my life, is the guys that get the goals and get the assists and are technically brilliant always command respect. And it's not right, because the guys that have respect are the ones that should be your teammate and the one that's there for you and encourages you and has the real interpersonal skills. But ultimately, they're not. The best players are the ones that demand the respect.
I knew it would be an emotional talking point. It's been on the timelines of many a person, sort of the situation with not just Trent. We focused in on Trent because he got substituted early. And I don't know you guys thinking or the theory behind that, because he put Milner and this is what I was going to come to. The game peters out to nothing. It was absolutely awful. The last couple of minutes, they got a few corners, and I was thinking, oh, this would be so typical. They score a winner out of nothing. They didn't have the shot on target in the whole 90 minutes. Salah hits the crossbar, gets unlucky. Gakpo misses a chance. You'd like to think he would have been a bit more braver and should have got there quicker and early. And it was a bit of I don't know what kind of finish he tried. I've seen it back, but at the time I thought, he could have been more braver. That's what I'm going to say. Peter's out to a draw. The last 15, 20 minutes, I don't know if you guys have got anything to add in terms of Klopp settled for a draw. I think Steve was alluding to it at the start. He just thought, keep a clean sheet, get out of there, and then we build on the next 2 home games. Is that pretty much how you guys saw it? Because none of those substitutions suggested to me we have any positive thoughts in our body to try win the game. We ended up with Elliott on the left wing, Bejitic, Henderson, Fabinho in midfield, and all sorts. Is that how you guys saw it as well? Just
very well summarised. Very well summarised, Grizz. That is, in a nutshell, that's exactly what we did.
That's therefore, right?
It is upsetting, but that's the state of mind I feel as though we find ourselves. But what it means now is, don't you think the pressure is huge now to go out and make sure we put on an attacking display for the lack of attacking intent and display against Wolves? Now we go and put on a show against Wolves, and my God, do we need to humble the other lads next week or the week after when we've played them in the league? That's the only way this point may be looked at in a positive light.
When you go, Captain.
I was just going to make a point that we're not in a title race. We're in a top 4 race. So draws are devastating in a title race, but in a top 4 race, it might not be the worst thing just to keep collecting the odd point as long as you follow it up with wins. So I'm trying to put a positive spin on it. Our objective is to get top 4 now in the league and maybe just collecting a point. Although we're kind of used to losing now, but let's forget this season. Prior to this season, a point would have been terrible. A point at Selhurst Park would have been terrible. But perhaps in a charge to get top 4, it might not be the worst. So
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Sorry, guys. We went back to the show we did after the Wolves game. We got beat 3-0. And one of us had said to the rest of the guys on the stream, would you settle for 7 from 9 points in the next 3 league games and 3 clean sheets? Every single one of us would have ripped your arm off. So, as frustrated and as poor as the game was yesterday, it's not Wolves 3, Liverpool 0. It's not catastrophic for our right calf, for our top 4. Well, let's be honest. It's not a top 4 race. It's a 4th place race because the top 3 are gone. Right? No one's going to catch them. It's one place for 3 or 4 or 5 teams who want it. It's a 4th place race. If we said we take 7 from 9 points, and if we take 7 from 9 points in the next 3 games, and then 7 from 9 points in the 3 games after that, and so on and so forth to the end of the season, we will be playing Champions League football because no one else in the league is doing that. Our frustration is we love our football club and we expect them to go and beat Crystal Palace, and they didn't. And it's the manner of how they didn't. But this is where the getting out of there without losing thing comes into play even more so. It's not an easy place to go. We know this. And you went there, Grizz. They're right on top of the pitch. They're really loud. They'd have bought into it. They've seen our midweek performance. They'd have been thinking, here comes our first win. They'd have seen our Wolves performance. Here comes our first win. I will take 7 from 9 points in 3-game intervals for the rest of the season because I think you end up in 4th place if you do that.
I guess it sort of goes into our super chat of the night, probably the last super chat of the night. Gagan Deep says, massive rebuild is paramount now due to the reactive culture of the club. If we strengthened in a position of power and put in a couple of years each season, we wouldn't be in this position. I suggested my shirt, or whatever you want to call it, cardigan, is what builders wear. And my hat is, I said, because of the rebuild needed. Cav and the lads immediately laughed and said, that's not a builder's shirt. Like, what are you on about? So they ruined my punchline. Guys in the chat, like over 500 of you, have you guys not seen builders wear these kind of or foremen at building sites wear this kind of shirt. Conroy, you're nodding. I've got something.
No, to me, it's like I feel like I've seen. I think when
rebuild.
Steve said the American thing, but usually in a building site you'll have a high vis on, Grizz. So like you'd have a high vis or
Okay.
a work jacket. So maybe contractors in America, whereas maybe not high health and safety standards.
Okay. Take off the hat, because the hat's obviously completely different. So if you put one of those, what's it called, the safety?
Yeah, but you'd usually have a high vis.
Oh,
Maybe with a high vis. Maybe more like a lumberjack. You know, a lumberjack in America. I can maybe see that. You know.
I'll go with that. I'll go with that.
Works,
But what I meant was massive rebuild is paramount now, guys, isn't it? We can joke about it. We can say we need to do this, we need to do that. Oh, he'll come back from injury. I'm bollocks with all of these players now, pretty much.
I know.
No, I am. It's just a matter of who we're gonna keep and be realistic. So huge rebuild. I'm putting my neck on the line. I'm saying 3 plus 1 centre back, 3 midfielders, obviously, and 1 centre back. Any takers for that, or any sub, or anything else?
I'll go for that. I'll have that. Yeah.
I mean, as in, I think that's what we will do as well.
Well, I'd bite your hand off of that, Grizz. Take that, mate. We need something. Absolutely. It's just, it's very obvious this season. You've seen it. The chat knows it. We know it. We've discussed it numerous times. And I think as well, Steve, your point and Cav about Grizz kind of, sorry, not Grizz, Klopp shutting up shop towards the end to just get us over the line with a point. Overall, we've said a lot of the negative things we've seen, but see that type of decision making, I'm not against that in certain games. If we maybe had more of that thinking against Real Madrid, I know it's all ifs and buts, instead of, doing what we're doing 100 miles an hour. If that's for sign of things to come, then hopefully that can be a bit more tactical in the right direction. But yeah, if we could get those signings in, that would be ideal. But as I say, they need to be starters though. This is the thing. It's not a depth, let's get a player for potential. They need to be
100%.
ready to go. And that's very important.
KD sent in a super chat, says United, Brentford, Brighton, Newcastle all recently drew at Selhurst Park too. 7 out of 9, same as Fulham, United and City. We go again, he suggests. Wolves, but as I said, Cav, Wolves is paramount. There's no ifs and buts. There will be a lot of pride, individual pride at stake after what Wolves done to us. Are you anticipating anything? Something?
Well, I hope so, because I'll be at the game. So I'm hoping there'll be something positive for me to shout about. It feels like I've played them for 100 times already this season, so we should know what to expect by now. I mean, we spoke about it at sort of the top of the show. Hopefully Nunez will be back for that game. That's vitally important. Bisetic, I'd expect to come back into the team. He makes a big impact as well. Obviously back at Anfield, so we'll have that additional support with the crowd. So yeah, I am expecting a response. I'm expecting a performance much like what we've seen against Everton. I won't say Newcastle because the result was good, but obviously against 10 men. So I'm expecting that level of performance and that level of energy. And hopefully, that will be enough. And I think it will be enough to get us the points. But we shouldn't take Wolves lightly. They've got very strong midfielders, especially, so they can turn up and dominate. So
he's done a very good job. And lads, James sends in a super chat, says, do you think Klopp will be handed a war chest? If so, what's your midfield 3? Mine is Jude, Agate, Kone, and then he says capital letters, not Mount. Steen, Conray, anything to add or subtract from that?
I'm with you, Cav, about Wednesday night, because I'll also be at the game, so I'm expecting Liverpool to step up and deliver at home. With regards to this one, we all want Bellingham. Klopp likes Mason Mount, so if he's a chance he can get him, they will try it, and then it'll be one other. Caicedo's probably too expensive. It's a lot of money. And there are other similar type players around. And if you're buying a player to play in a 6, because Mount's not a 6, and Bellingham's not a 6, Caicedo's actually not particularly tall. So there's a notion that Fabinho wins or did win lots of headers. They never got as far as Van Dijk and Matip because of the sheer size of the man. You go and put a 5'11" centre midfielder in there as a 6. You're asking one of your centre backs to come and engage free kicks into those areas and goal kicks. You don't really want that. Our success has been anything that Fabinho didn't deal with, the pace of a Gomez, a Van Dijk, a Konate, and the reading of the game until recently at Matip allowed us to deal with that. We don't want centre-backs when we've got full-backs pushing high, getting involved with phase one balls in midfield because we don't have aerial strength in there. So I think we need a unit. We're back to that big physical presence again, aren't we? That Grizz mentioned earlier. You have to have one, and I think the one sits in the six. So that's why the likes of Thuram and guys like that who are more physical than Caicedo would probably. And Caicedo's plays predominantly on the left side of the centre midfield, not in the six for Brighton anyway. I'm not sure he's the answer. I think he's really, really expensive.
Con, have you got any preferences for your three before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, just quickly, I think we've done the show a couple of weeks ago, so if you've not checked that out, have a look at that. That was a really top show. And Evan's point and Ugarde on that, Evan had done his homework and he kind of sold me on that, to be honest, because it's I think the release clause quite reasonable as well. Presence, athleticism would kind of suit that mould of the high press with that engine room midfield. So I would go with him, and I think the Bellingham shout is obvious. Mount's an interesting one. I'm not a Mount hater. I don't think you are, Grizz, either. I think because obviously you do different shows.
I'm a Mount. Okay, I'm a Mount not fan because I don't watch him enough to become a fan.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen of Mount, I can envisage him being far more effective than Curtis Jones,
100%,
Oxlade-Chamberlain, Naby Keita, and that's my thinking for a 14
a Klopp system as well. I think he suits it very good at very pressing high energy. I would say I'd be intrigued to see what Klopp could do with a Mount. That's what I'd be intrigued to see.
I genuinely think if he doesn't sign at Chelsea, guys, he'll end up at Liverpool. I genuinely think that. So let's keep an eye on that. If he doesn't sign at Chelsea, if he doesn't extend, he'll end up at Liverpool. And I think he'll be far more useful than the three players that I've mentioned. And that's the way I've got to look at it. So that doesn't mean he's my first choice before, here we go. Mount, English, British tax, Grizz, you know what I mean? Call me all sorts of names. No, he'd be the third. The first and the second, for me, Jude, and I agree with Steve, I want a monster. I want a physical presence. A Garte, a Kone. They'd be the two top of my list. Caicedo will probably be too much, but if we're going to go all out and not buy expensive centre-back, like we done that, go and watch the show. Go and watch the show. This is exactly what we discuss in the show. This is exactly what we discussed, right? Balancing the finances and acts and everything. We're not going to tell you what we ended up with. Cav, anything to add or subtract?
Just maybe that there might be some smart signings we can make with the teams that get relegated or are fighting relegation, end up towards the bottom of the table. You know, there's Southampton. There's a couple of players in there that might be of interest. Same with Leeds. Same with West Ham if they stay down there. So maybe there'll be players that look to move because they don't want to do this relegation scrap. They're not happy that they've been relegated. And we might be able to sort of cherry pick them players and maybe go back to what we did really well quite a few years ago now, whereby we picked up these players that we thought, I don't think much to them. They weren't good enough to keep their teams in the league. But actually, they come in and they do a respectable job for us. So maybe that's something we should maybe look at. Just to throw names out there, a Ward-Prowse, a Bella Copter, an Aronson, Jack Harrison. The names go on. They're not exciting. Declan Rice, they're probably not the first choice men. But if we have to get numbers in the squad, like we've said, 3 midfielders and a centre-back, we might just have to make 1 or 2 of them smart signings. And I think maybe that looking at them relegated teams or close to relegated teams might be the way to go. Plus some free transfers in the summer, which I know isn't exciting, but there's some decent options out there as well. So, we might have to look at that.
Ashby sends the best message of the night. He says, Grizz ball knowledge is arse. And then he says, Mount. My ball knowledge, I agree, is arse, but I've been blessed with having my own channel and get paid to give my arse knowledge. You're in my chat making cheeky comments every 5 comments. So anyway, lads, lasses, people, human beings, animals, whoever's watched us, love you all. I don't think Conroy's going to come back. He's been having Wi-Fi issues, but big up Conroy. Stay out now, Conroy. Don't come back. We're all finishing now. Steve, thanks very much for that. Cav, thanks very much for that. Loads of content over the week. We'll be back with the RedFellas. Well, these guys will be back with the RedFellas next week, where we'll have loads to talk about again, I'm sure. Make sure you've liked on your way out if you haven't. Let me just block Ash now for being a prick. Bye, Ash. You're blocked. So make sure you've liked the stream if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't. Conroy's back just to wave goodbye. This is going to be fun. I'm just going to add Conroy. Conroy, just wave goodbye. That's all. Just wave goodbye. There you go. Conroy's wave goodbye. We out of here. Take care. Bless up, everyone. Bye-bye.